Hello and welcome to the #1 show on the internet. I'm your host, Matt Wallace, and we have gotten more than 330 million views on Twitter in just the last 28 days. Insane numbers coming in right now on the good old Twitter. And if you're watching right here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe with the notifications on. I have the inside track to so many important events happening in the world. With my Twitter account, with my YouTube channel, I've been able to build connections with some very influential people on the world scale, and I get the inside track and I give it to you here on the show. So notifications on, subscribe, the best thing you can do right now to stay updated in real time, as we have a bunch of big stories to talk about today. As you come into the live, take a second to press the like button if you want to, but then again, it is a relatively negative live today in some ways, so as a result of that, you may not want to press it, because if you press it, then this video gets out to more people, and then more people see the negativity. It's more just an update for our community exclusively, so you can if you want, you don't have to, you probably shouldn't, I'll just be honest about that. But the US Justice Department is split over charging Binance as crypto world falters, sources say. So right now, after we've heard multiple stories, the SEC is going after exchanges and clamping down on them. It's official. They're going to be moving forward very soon with multiple major things in the exchange area. And one of the questions they have is if they're going to actually charge Binance with specific crimes. This after, for example, one of the many things we have seen, the Chinese police arresting 63 people. If they had arrested 6 more, it would have been a little bit different of a story, but they arrested 63 people for laundering $1.7 billion via cryptocurrency. They collected, this illegal activity group collected illicit funds from online pyramid schemes, fraud, and gambling, and converted the process and the proceeds into Tether, which is, of course, a stablecoin pegged by the US dollar. Despite Beijing's ban on trading and mining of crypto, China recorded more than 220 billion in total crypto transactions between June 2021 and July 2022. So on one hand, it's good to see China is still able to get around those sanctions and still able to invest in cryptocurrency and participate. On the other hand, some of that activity, keep in mind, it's a very small percentage of the total amount. Still though, some percentage of that is going to illegal activity. And right now, China cracking down, and the US potentially going to crack down as well on similar things. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of money, $1.7 billion. They've already recovered 20 million or so of that. You have to wonder, is the government in China lining their pockets with some of this money? I wouldn't be surprised at all if they are. Of course, we know they do that many times. And so they're probably doing that here. Of course they are. That's why it's very hard to live in a country that has communism, because you can't trust anything your government does. But as a result of this story coming out, Dogecoin has fallen. It is down 8.5% in just the last 24 hours to 8.8 cents. A big fall. They're crashing Dogecoin right now. And the reason why Dogecoin is crashing to this extent, yes, a lot of cryptos at the top have fallen, but the reason why Dogecoin has fallen more is because Dogecoin has a lot of people who are counting on exchanges in order to be able to hold it. A ton of Dogecoin held right now on exchanges, which is a significantly higher amount than a lot of other cryptocurrencies. And so as a result of that, it has caused it to fall as the SEC looks more heavily into regulation of exchanges. Keep in mind, it's just 8.4%. It's not the end of the world. It's not 60%. It's not 70%. It's not all out catastrophe. It's just a decent sized fall that's unfortunate and something that, of course, we don't want to see. But there's one thing we can do right now, which is take a lot of your crypto off exchanges. Do not hold your Dogecoin exclusively on exchanges. It's okay to have some on there, but especially if you have a larger amount, hold a lot of that on a decentralized wallet. If you want one right now, all you have to do is go on the App Store and download an app called My Doge Wallet. Then you can set up your own Dogecoin wallet using My Doge Wallet, and you can send some of your Dogecoin there. It takes a few minutes to set that up, and maybe a little bit longer if you want to go through some of the extra steps, but it's relatively easy, and you can do it within the next hour. You can do it right now. I highly recommend doing that and making sure that you're keeping track of all of that as well for the purposes of course, taxes, which is coming not too far from now, around 3 months until tax season hits. But we also have Elon Musk, who has been all out against the establishment recently, which is kind of crazy to see. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to talk about some of this on YouTube, but I'll go ahead and show you the tweet. So he's basically calling out some of the people who are putting draconian measures in place to try to fight back against the situation in the world. And as bad as the situation in the world was, in many ways, that doesn't necessarily justify some of the things that happened as a result of it. And here's one of them. I commented underneath Elon Musk's post, and this is one of the top comments under his post, got over 2,000 likes in just 3 hours. In 2021, the US government spent $7.24 trillion, despite only bringing in 3.58. Negative 3.66 trillion is the worst ever. Their excuse for this unprecedented power grab was the vid, and we're all going to have to suffer extreme consequences because of their irresponsibility, and they're not even stopping. They're still continuing to spend crazy amounts of money. What's their excuse now? They use this to set the trend. So because of the situation in the world, they said, all right, we have to spend more money this year, but they were lying. And we know they're lying because they're still continuing to spend that much money, even after a lot of those pressing needs have been diminished, proving that they were in fact making a massive power grab the entire time. And so it's very good that Elon Musk is calling this out. He absolutely deserves, or they absolutely deserve to be called out by Elon Musk. I also had this tweet breaking. Elon Musk just revealed he's about to release evidence that could put that guy right there, look on your screen, behind bars. Once again, I'm not on Twitter right now, I'm on YouTube, so I literally have to be scared to say these words, or else YouTube could hurt my video. Isn't that crazy? Let's fight back against this. Help me in whatever way you can. But let's hopefully see all of us still spreading the word on Twitter, even if we can't talk about it in other places, which I still think is ridiculous. So the government made this massive power grab that we know is under many false pretenses because they're still continuing to do that. And they're still continuing on the trend. They get to spend that money themselves on the things that they want to spend it on. They get to enrich their own pockets. Look at many of the top congressional people. Whenever they spend money, they're getting back a huge percentage of that. So this massive corruption has been allowed, and we've let it happen more or less, or at least we've allowed it without as much scrutiny because of the situation in the world. Kind of crazy to think about. But anyway, so he could potentially put AF behind bars. Mr. Anthony. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but what that tweet was referring to is that Elon Musk, I'll go ahead and show you here. So he's been replying to a lot of people recently, but one of the things he said is, if I can scroll down and find it right here. So it's funny to see him calling out celebrities, by the way. That's one of my favorite parts of Twitter now. But so he did say this. His I mean, he's not holding back at all. Let's just put it that way. He's not holding back. He said his pronouns are that. My gosh. I mean, he's basically fighting back against the culture that for so long has prohibited you from doing certain things. And while I don't necessarily agree 100% with everything Elon Musk does or says, at the same time, I do like the general principle, the general mindset he has of fighting back against the powerful people and standing up for the little guy. That seems to be the overarching message here, regardless of if some of the things he says are pretty out there. But at the same time, I do think, without a shadow of a doubt, it does make the internet feel more free when you have the ability to say things that are offensive, when you have the ability to say things that are going to make some people very upset. When you have that ability, it means that when people do go too far, you still have that ability. When people try to use those things you're not allowed to talk about to take power from you, you have the ability to call them out. And that's extremely important, not necessarily just because of what it does right now, but primarily because of the fact that it will prevent it from getting way worse in the future. That's the most important thing, because trust me, it would have gotten way worse had we not seen Elon Musk buying Twitter and allowing us to kind of change a little bit of the culture in the right direction. But basically, I think it was relatively recently that he said this. So here we go. Will this be explained in new Twitter files? Will this, him saying his pronouns are that, will that be explained? He said yes, basically meaning that he's going to reveal information that could potentially put him behind bars. That's what he's saying here. And so that's why this tweet, I mean, it's going insanely viral. Look at that. Our tweet has, I mean, look at that. In 4 hours, it has 79,000 likes. It has been seen by, let's see how many people. 3 million people have seen our tweet in the last 4 hours, and over 79,000 likes. I mean, it's going up so fast in likes that even as I'm looking at it right now, it's going up. I mean, that's just insane. my goodness. And it's cool to see that. It gives our community more credence, more influence, and you love it. I mean, I'd love to see that. I want to be there. Look at that. See, it's already up to 79.6 in like 30 seconds from 79.5. So it's climbing like crazy right now. As we also have seen a few other tweets. But the nice thing about this is the more influence we get, the more we can do good for the world. Because one thing I want, one of my main missions right now, is to get the government to stop spending so much dang money, because it will destroy everything that we love long term. It is taking a massive extremely greedy stance now in exchange for having to sacrifice even bigger in the future. It's not worth it under any circumstances. And there's so many better ways to handle this. And so the more influence we get, the more I'm going to use it to try to push positive messages and to try to push things that actually help us moving forward. What up, Matt, says Sam. And Michael says, looks like the only one who's getting exposure. And Bobby Fritz says, our army is strong for them to crash it. Too strong. Yes, indeed. I agree with that. Dogex the Moon says, Frank, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Heavy hitting stuff here. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's intense, but it's important at the same time. And on one hand, you don't have to agree with everything Elon Musk says. On the other hand, I think we all should support him. We really should, because he's overall, the messages he's sending, the stuff he's doing does help the world, and it's a positive thing overall what he's doing. Don't worry, Elon gets involved in something that's sure thing. Keep buying in regards to Dogecoin. Someone said, don't cause panic. I mean, look, the reason I put titles like that, let's be completely honest about it, is because we can get more people from outside our community to click on it. All of us in the community, you know the content's going to be good. You know we're going to have a good show with lots of information. But for new people, having a dramatic title will make them more likely to click on our video and come on. Do minimal clickbait, just barely above the amount I need. And that, I think, hopefully will help to bring new people in, but also allow them to understand kind of how the community and how the thumbnail process and the title process works. So my title for this video is They're Crashing Dogecoin, and what I'm specifically referring to with this title today is that the SEC, with some of the moves they're making, they're causing Dogecoin to fall, and it has fallen more than some of the other cryptocurrencies, unfortunately, not by that much. By a few percentage points, it has fallen more than a lot of the other top cryptos, and it's very clear why. Look at this. We also see BNB, the other one that's fallen a lot, down 5%, of course, and so that's another sign where we know exactly why the market's falling. It is because of the scrutiny from the SEC on Binance. It is because of the scrutiny on exchanges, and so that's why we have seen Dogecoin and BNB both falling. Now, there are some advantages, too, about Dogecoin being exchange-heavy. One of those advantages is that it does allow people to buy more easily and to participate more easily. When we do see spikes in the future, you can buy in a couple of seconds. So during a bull market, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but regardless, it is still overall better to have most of our cryptocurrency, most of our Dogecoin held off of exchanges. That way, we don't have to worry if exchanges have problems, because then we can just simply still continue to use our wallet and send it to a different exchange if we ever want to cash out into USD. So there's a lot of different ways to handle it, but that was where I was specifically going with that title, and that's why I put it that way. Is it clickbait? I don't really think so. Is it exaggeration slightly? Is it dramatic? Sure. That's part of YouTube. That's how it works. If we don't do that, we're not going to be able to compete with the other YouTubers out there. And so that's why I typically do that. And hopefully we have enough credibility that we're actually going to have good information that doesn't really matter. I think that's the case for most of our inner community, which is very good. That's what you want, of course. As we're also seeing this, Sam Bankman-Fried hit with a campaign finance complaint over donating, specifically in this case to GOP, because he claimed that he donated a lot of money also to the GOP, not just to the Democrats, but he did that under the table, and he did that in secretive ways so that he wouldn't face as much scrutiny from the media. Very interesting, because you have to wonder, why in the world wouldn't he have said that instantly after this whole debacle started? He waited like a week. He seemed to have formed a plan first. He seemed to have realized that a lot of people were attacking him on the fact that he had donated so much to Democrats who were on the right side of the aisle. And so as a result of that, he seemed to want to kind of counter that. In the cryptocurrency space, a lot of people hate the government. A lot of people do not want any money going to the government, regardless if it's left or right. And especially a lot of people in the cryptocurrency community do not like the left, at least at this moment in time. And that's not true for everyone. There's a lot of people on the left who are also in cryptocurrency, but generally the crypto community has a higher tolerance for freedom, has a higher desire for freedom, has a higher desire for the government being smaller and for cryptocurrency and decentralized finance to be bigger. And so as a result, Sam Bankman-Fried trying to kind of claw his way back out of that hole that a lot of people had deemed him to be in. We'll see if it works. I don't think it will. All it does right now, at least, is it makes him more vulnerable to potential legal trouble, as he's getting here scrutiny and could potentially have to face other additional charges for campaign finance violations if he did actually do what he claimed he did, which I don't think necessarily he did. I think he's lying. I don't think he actually donated nearly as much as he's claiming to Republicans. I think most of it was Democrats. He did also cite $20 million in donations to Republicans, but that's like 1/3 of the total donations that he sent out to politicians. And it seems pretty obvious that right there is indicative of his overarching donation pattern. And so I don't think we're going to find any evidence on the contrary. But if we do, then he's in even more legal trouble. So either way, it's a lose-lose for Sam Bankman-Fried. Leaked Twitter code reveals secret crypto bombshell. Ooh, that's interesting. We're about to talk about that on the next episode. So make sure to subscribe with the notifications on. I'll, of course, be bringing up all the details about this and why it's so important. There is something to look forward to. There is optimism right now, regardless of the other stuff we're seeing. So just focus on that if you want to have more positive mindset, even as Dogecoin is down some on the day. I'm Matt Wallace. This is Final Stand, and I'll see you in the next video.